Comedy Store. He watches me in the audience. He comes backstage. He tells me what a great job I did and how much he loves the joke.
Steve Harvey might have just met his match, and this time, it's not a gossip site or some messy headline coming for him. It's Katt Williams. And when Katt speaks, the whole internet stops to listen. This wasn't comedy. It was war with a mic in hand.
2 years later, he's doing that as his last joke.
Sitting down with Shannon Sharpe on Club Shay Shay, Katt didn't hold back. No jokes, no sugarcoating, just raw truth. He tore into the comedy world, exposing fake loyalty, shady deals, and stolen material.
That's kind of like hate and jealousy. And hate and jealousy is a form of grief.
And because you finally did it, because you had no other choice, and now that he gone, you gonna act like he wanted to be a movie star. You stop it.
But the second he dropped Steve Harvey's name, the room went dead silent. Katt said, "You can't call yourself a king of comedy when your whole career's built on stealing from other comedians." That line hit like thunder. No punchline, just cold truth. And when it landed, the internet went wild.
Just because a person sits on the show and don't hesitate or say or and speaks eloquently, that don't mean it's true.
Supposed to go last is because it was your tour. Tell the truth. It was Steve's tour.
See, first of all, I ain't really good at social media, so I didn't even know that was out there.
But to really understand why this shook the culture, you've got to rewind. Steve wasn't always the polished TV host or the smiling game show star we see today. He came up grinding, a broke comedian living out of his car, driving from one small gig to the next just to make it. Then, in the late 90s, Steve joined the Kings of Comedy tour with Bernie Mac, Cedric the Entertainer, and D.L. Hewley. It was historic, sold-out arenas, culture-shifting jokes, and instant legend status. Katt didn't just throw shade, he dropped a bomb.
Say it.
Okay.
And that was rough. Like, really kissed most of the corners of my when a person sits on the show and don't hesitate or say or and speaks eloquently, that don't mean it's true. Not in the same league, though. We shooting at two different baskets. I shouldn't even have said nothing.
He claimed Steve Harvey didn't build his empire, he borrowed it. And in comedy, that's the ultimate violation. Stealing another comic's material is crossing a sacred line you don't come back from. And truth be told, Katt's not the first to make that accusation. Years back, comedian Mark Curry, yeah, the same guy from Hangin' with Mr. Cooper, called out Steve for copying his routines word for word. Mark said he flipped on The Steve Harvey Show one day and saw his own jokes, his characters, even his punchlines, line for line.
How we got started. And it was rough, man, because it was just the three of us. And the first night we did it was a disaster.
He tried to confront Steve, but according to Curry, Steve just laughed it off and said, "That's show business." That one moment told comedians everything they needed to know. Steve wasn't just inspired. He was allegedly taking other people's shine and flipping it into fame. So when Katt Williams brought all this back up, it wasn't random. It was revenge years in the making. Katt's been around long enough to know who's real and who's faking it, and when he said, "You can't preach about God on TV when you've been playing dirty behind the scenes," the whole internet froze.
With you, Frankie, I didn't know nothing about this concept. When the promoter told me about it in October, I shot it down. Because that ain't how I've ever promoted it with some real monsters, man. I toured with the Kings. You know, I've been on stage with Sid, DL, and Bernie Mac. I had to say.
That line hit different because deep down, fans had been whispering it for years. The contradiction between motivational Steve and industry Steve finally got dragged into the light. And for the first time, it looked like Steve Harvey just got exposed for real. Steve Harvey's got a history of controversy that most people love to sweep under the rug. His messy divorce, whispers about cheating, and those infamous leaked emails where he told his staff,
anything. That's a regret I have. I really shouldn't have said nothing. Cause we not in the same league. Pull out shows. So I took cash that night. Cause I'm gonna go across the border to the casinos in Canada and I'm gonna gamble. We in the limo, me and Sid, we going across the thing. Border Patrol say, "Who are you?"
Don't talk to me. Don't approach me. Don't even look at me. That doesn't sound like the warm, friendly Steve audiences see smiling on TV every morning. According to Katt Williams, Steve's greatest skill wasn't comedy. It was manipulation. He accused Steve of using religion, charm, and smooth talk to hide the truth, that he climbed the industry ladder by stepping on everyone else. And Katt didn't just talk, he brought receipts. He went all the way back to the kings of comedy days, saying Bernie Mac was the people's real king, the funniest, the rawest, the one who didn't have to fake it. But Hollywood, Katt said, didn't want that kind of real. They wanted safe, polished, controllable, and Steve fit that image perfectly. That claim hit deep. Fans have always believed Bernie Mac deserved more recognition, especially after his passing. And when Bernie died, Steve seemed to slip right into the spotlight like the throne had been waiting for him all along. Even D.L. Hewley once hinted that Bernie and Steve didn't vibe near the end, that they had creative differences. But after Katt's interview, fans are wondering if those differences ran way deeper than anyone ever admitted. Katt Williams didn't hold back. He flat out said Steve Harvey used Bernie Mac's death to rewrite comedy history. He painted Steve as a man who saw opportunity in loss, stepping into the spotlight and never looking back. Fans were furious because Bernie Mac wasn't just a comedian. He was authenticity personified. The idea that someone could profit off his legacy felt downright cold. Then Katt went after Steve's whole TV image, the motivational host, the love expert, the man teaching women how to find good men. Katt asked, "How can you preach morals when your whole career was built on taking from others?" He called Steve a hypocrite, a man who talks about loyalty and faith while his own record shows the opposite. The internet lit up fast. Clips from the interview flooded TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. Half the people said Katt was bitter, but the rest said, "Finally, someone said what we've all been thinking." Because truth be told, Katt wasn't hating, he was exposing. He said once the money rolled in, Steve switched up. He got corporate, distant, acting above the very comedians he once came up with. Katt's final jab cut the deepest. Steve ain't one of us no more. He's a brand. That line hit home because Steve built his empire on being the relatable guy. But after Katt's interview, that image cracked wide open, and fans started seeing Steve not as the people's man, but as the man who left his people behind. Katt Williams painted Steve Harvey as a man who sold his soul for fame and abandoned the culture that built him. For years, Steve was untouchable, the funny uncle, the family man, the success story everyone cheered for. But Katt's words shattered that image wide open. Fans started digging. Old interviews, past talk shows, subtle shade he threw at other comedians. Once the internet starts connecting dots, it's a wrap. No PR spin, no talk show apology can fix that. When Katt's interview hit trending lists, social media went into flames. People called for Steve to be held accountable, with some demanding that networks cut ties. Others compared him to talk show hosts who fell from grace after their good guy masks slipped off. But this time, it wasn't gossip bloggers doing the talking. It was an industry veteran calling him out. Someone who had lived the same grind, walked the same road, and still dared to call him a fraud. That's what made the fallout sting so bad. For the first time in decades, people started asking if Steve's whole Man of God act was just a performance. The backlash was instant and brutal. Fans flooded timelines with clips of Steve mocking guests, belittling other comics, and flashing that smirk that suddenly didn't feel so friendly. The internet's verdict was harsh. Steve's been playing nice for the cameras, but that ego's been showing for years. Even producers started to panic. Whispers spread that Steve Harvey's upcoming projects were under review. Networks didn't want that heat. Nobody wanted to stand beside a man the internet was now calling a Hollywood phony. While execs scrambled behind the scenes, Katt Williams stayed silent. No tweets, no clarifications, just letting the chaos do the talking. To be fair, Steve's weathered scandals before the Miss Universe fiasco, those leaked staff emails, the backlash from defending controversial stars. Each time, he bounced back with the same formula. Flash that big smile, mention God's plan, drop a motivational quote, and move on like nothing happened. But this time's different. This time, it's not tabloids. It's one of his own calling him out. And when someone from your circle exposes your character, it hits way harder. Fans began digging deeper, pulling out every old interview and reading between the lines. Clips surfaced where Bernie Mac looked uneasy sharing the stage with Steve. Moments that once seemed harmless now felt tense in hindsight. Then came Monique's old interview, the one where she said Steve betrayed her to keep Hollywood happy. She claimed Steve told her straight up, "It's not about integrity, it's about the money game." Back then, people dismissed it as drama. But now? That quote's everywhere, and it fits perfectly with what Katt just exposed. The puzzle pieces are finally connecting. What Katt did wasn't just throwing shade, he dismantled Steve Harvey's entire brand right in front of millions. Katt Williams went all in. He called Steve Harvey a Hollywood puppet, clowned his acting skills, and even mocked his biggest movie, saying, "Think like a man." Steve's been pretending his whole life. What shocked people most wasn't the insult, it was how calm Katt was when he said it. No anger, no performance, just years of truth finally spilling out. The crowd didn't laugh because it was funny. They laughed because it sounded real. That kind of truth doesn't need a punchline. Since that interview dropped, Steve's gone quiet. And for a man who lives in the spotlight, that silence is deafening. No talk show monologue to clear the air, no long statement defending his name, just nothing. Insiders say he's raging behind the scenes, calling meetings, demanding crisis plans, trying to find a way to flip the narrative. But how do you fix a reputation when people don't believe you anymore? You can't rebrand your way out of truth. Once trust is gone, it's over. Katt didn't just bruise Steve's image. He destroyed his credibility. The one thing no fame or fortune can ever buy back. You can lose fans, sponsors, even shows. But once people stop believing your words, your legacy starts falling apart. Now, the same fans who once quoted Steve's motivational clips are mocking them online, calling him Hollywood's biggest hypocrite, a man preaching Bible verses while living behind a mask. Even comedians who once praised Steve Harvey are now keeping their distance. The energy around his name has changed. It's no longer admiration, it's suspicion. What's crazy is that Steve once predicted this himself. Years ago, he said, "If you live long enough, the truth about you will come out. Make sure you can live with it." Now those same words are haunting him. The truth has finally caught up, through Katt Williams, through Monique, through old clips the internet dug up. Steve spent years preaching about being real, but now everyone's asking if he ever truly was. And what really shook people? Katt didn't sound bitter. He sounded disappointed. He said, "I respect real. Even if you don't like me, keep it real. But don't act holy when your career's built on hustle and hypocrisy." That hit hard. It wasn't loud, it was honest. Katt wasn't trying to destroy Steve. He was holding up a mirror to the whole industry, exposing what happens when fake success gets worshipped. And now the fallout is massive. Steve's empire might still stand, but it's cracking fast. His talk shows, game shows, and brand deals are all under pressure. Networks are watching, fans are debating, comedians are side-eyeing. Katt Williams came for truth, and that's exactly why the world can't stop talking. On the surface, Steve Harvey's empire still looks polished. The TV gigs, the brand deals, the family man image. But behind the scenes, it's crumbling fast. Networks are getting nervous, sponsors are watching closely, and the public's trust is slipping away. This isn't just a celebrity getting caught in drama. This feels like a reckoning. Because when someone like Katt Williams, a comic known for calling out lies, steps up and checks you in front of millions, there's no easy comeback. Katt didn't just hit Steve's ego, he hit his credibility. And that's something you can't fake once it's gone. For years, Steve was treated like comedy royalty. The man who rose from car seats to red carpets, from broke stand-up to best-selling author. He preached positivity, gave advice, and told people how to live right. But now the mask is off, and fans are asking whether that wisdom came from real struggle or just good PR. Katt said it best. Steve ain't one of us no more. He's a brand, and honestly, it fits. The man who once stood for every hustler chasing a dream has become Hollywood's poster boy for clean, family-friendly fame. But the more famous he got, the less authentic he seemed. The thing about the internet, once the crowd turns, it's brutal. Fans who used to defend Steve Harvey are now posting side-by-side clips comparing his old motivational speeches to the accusations he's facing today. They're calling out his hypocrisy, saying he turned faith into a marketing tool. One viral post even read, "Steve built a whole career preaching integrity while playing Hollywood chess behind the scenes." It's like the world suddenly woke up and realized they'd been watching a performance all along. But here's the twist. Katt Williams didn't just come for Steve. He exposed the entire system. He said Hollywood loves to reward fake smiles and safe personalities, the ones they can control, while pushing the real ones like Bernie Mac, Monique, and even Katt himself out of the spotlight for being too raw. Katt flipped the mirror back on the game, and Steve just became the face of it. Now, comment sections are chaos. Fans debating if Steve's just another fallen idol or if he was never real from the start. Some still defend him, saying he earned his place. Others claim the charm was always an act, a disguise for ambition that left too many people behind. But no matter what side you're on, one thing's certain. That Uncle Steve image will never be the same. You can feel the cultural shift. People are tired of polished speeches and perfect facades. They want authenticity. They want the truth. And that's why Katt's interview hit harder than any scandal ever could. He didn't yell, didn't chase clout, he just spoke facts. Because truth doesn't fade, and no matter how deep Hollywood buries it, it always finds a way to rise back to the surface. Sources say Steve Harvey's team is in full panic mode, canceling appearances, holding emergency meetings, and trying to rebuild his image. But how do you fix a reputation when the whole world's already seen behind the curtain? The longer Steve stays quiet, the guiltier he looks. And fans aren't about to forget. Not when the receipts are everywhere online. At this point, it's not even about who's right or wrong, it's about how the internet moves now. People don't wait for apologies or explanations. Once the crowd turns, it's over. Katt Williams didn't just shake Steve's brand, he shook the entire entertainment world, showing that even the most polished stars can't hide forever. The truth doesn't expire. It might take years, but when it shows up, it hits hard. And that's the real message here. This isn't about tearing down legends. It's a reminder that fame doesn't equal honesty. No matter how high you climb, the truth will always find you. Steve's empire might still stand, but his image, it'll never shine the same again. The world no longer sees a mentor or a moral voice, just a man facing the judgment he once preached about. Katt didn't destroy Steve Harvey, he revealed him. And now everyone's looking at both men differently. One scrambling for control, the other calm, knowing he just spoke what needed to be said. Whatever comes next, one thing's for sure. This moment changed comedy, Hollywood, and how fans see their heroes forever. So what do you think? Can Steve Harvey bounce back from this storm, or did Katt Williams just pull off the biggest exposure of the year? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because this story's far from over and you won't want to miss what comes next. See you on the next one.